the first dive of preliminary round here in Sheshov is Lauren Alaselka, inward 1.5 somersault pike. Most of the divers are starting with this inward 1.5 somersault pike in this round, either this one or back 1.5 somersault pike. To start off this competition, just one diver that performs the twister. Well executed, slightly distant from the board, but not bad at all for Lauren. 7s from the judges, 6.5, 48 points for her. And same dive for Michelle Emberg. A good dive also for her. Michelle in 2022 was 7th in this event. She had a very good start of the final last year, and then ended up slightly missing the last two dives for 5.5s and 6s, and she ended up short of the medals. She was 2nd in this event in 2020, so she is definitely here aiming for a great result after a disappointing 2022 campaign on 1 meter last year. She got 7s, 49.20, and she's ahead of Lauren Alaselka. Also same dive for Urte Valezaite. Not as fast in the air on this dive. The overall is good, it's not too bad. Vertical, but not as strong off the board. Doesn't get very high or as high as the previous two divers. So 6s for her, 44.40. Jette Mueller now 4th place for her last year. Much faster than Urte before her. Again, not very high, but very well executed technically. The movements of the arms are all perfect. And she jumps ahead of everyone else in the rankings right now. 52.80 for the German diver. Back 1.5 somersault pike for Grace Reed. .3 degree of difficulty. Nicely executed. Probably just a little bit too far back with her upper body when taking off. Created a little bit distance, a little bit too much distance between her and the board. Could have been closer, but overall a very good dive, above average. Nicely done in the lineup. You can see it here in the slow motion. Very, very vertical. Next up, another inward 1.5 somersault pike for Rocio Velasquez this time. 2.4 degree of difficulty again. Rocio won her first ever medal at the European Championship this week in the first day of diving in the team event. The dive is very clean in the entry. Definitely moves her feet too far into the board when she's squatting, and that causes the hips to move back. So could have been a little bit closer to the board, and especially could have been much higher. But above average for her, 46.80. So talking about average, while we see Alexandra Blazowska performing the same dive, the inward 1.5 somersault pike. Last year, the 12th qualified diver in prelims the 12th diver in the rankings in prelims, was Madeleine Cocu from Switzerland, that we're going to see on the board right after Alexandra in just less than a minute. And Madeleine qualified for the finals with 222 points in prelims. That means 44 points a dive. Probably could be a bit higher today. Already the average today is in the first round is above that, because the last ranked diver as of right now, Urte, in 8th place, is at 44.40. Everyone else is above that. So here we see Madeleine now. So I'm gonna say that with 46 points, 46 to 48 points, that should do it to be sure having a spot in the final this morning. Very well executed inward 1.5 somersault pike, slightly short for Madeleine. It was fairly high. I don't know. She probably thought she was spinning faster than what she actually was doing, but not bad. 48 points for her on the first dive. And again, another inward 1.5 somersault that is above average. Considering most of the divers have pretty much the same total degree of difficulty, except for, as I told you before, Lena Enchil, Desa Patricia, and Emilia Nilsson-Guerrier. Considering that, the competition, the final rankings are going to be very close from each other. So the details in each dive are going to make a huge difference. The height of the dive, the clean entries, also the sharp pike or tuck positions, or also the fit together in the twisters. Those are the details that are going to make a huge difference for the divers in this competition that is going to be very, very close. Christoph Baum, who saw me on screen, checking out Lena Enschel's first dive, forward 2.5 somersault pike, very high. A very strong diver from Germany. She goes up in the air, perfect pike position, straight legs and very squeezed pike position, and she jumps ahead of everyone here as of right now. After the first 11 dives we have seen, she gets up ahead of her teammate Jette at 54.60. This was the first hurdle we've seen today, and there was no problem for the German diver with that. And now Olli Prasanto, British diver, also for her an inward 1.5 somersault pike, and very similar to Madeleine Cocu a few dives back. Not too bad off the board, fast enough, just slightly short at the end. Getting in the water, her legs stay a tiny bit short, but not too bad. From Romania now, Amélie Forster, also for her an inward 1.5 somersault pike. And this is very, very low. She does not pick up much speed, and also the dive just doesn't go high. You see here how she drops her head and shoulders before jumping. She's very close to the water when coming out of the pike position. Overall, she does a good job lining up. Sixes, 43.20, and Amélie is in 11th place right now. Caroline Kupka, inward 1.5 somersault pike for the Norwegian diver. Nice very strong off the board. Very, very strong when pressing the board and jumping. She does a good job with that. With that kind of a squat, she could have waited for the board to bring her higher. It looks like she left the board, moved her feet backwards to get in a pike a little bit ahead of time. So this dive could have gone much higher, but it's again another 1.5 pike that is above average. 48 points for her. Solid start. Here we have 2022 European champion in this event, and actually 3 times gold medalist in this event at Europeans, Elena Bertocchi from Italy. She won Europeans in 2017, 2020, and 2022 on 1 meter. So a veteran of the 1 meter event at Europeans, and a very talented Italian diver. And she does a good job with this first dive. Same as Caroline Cooper, it seemed like she could have waited longer for the board to take her feet higher. Also, not close, but not too close, but closer than other divers we've seen this morning. Elena Bertocchi gets straight 7s, and she's in 3rd place right now. Estila Mosena now back 1.5 somersault pike for the Hungarian diver. And a good dive, very sharp. Her feet and toes line getting in the water is perfect. Very well pointed toes. Beautiful to watch. This dive is just not strong off the board. Ends up being too short. You see it here. Not perfect in the hands and arm line in the water, so splashes a little bit too much. 6s for her, and she's in 15th right now. Also a back 1.5 somersault pike for Anna Pismenska. Anna has a great top. She got a very strong jump off the board. She's high and fast, does not control very well the come out here, pulls her hands too far back and completely misses the entry, going too far over. So quite a mistake for the very experienced Ukrainian diver. 5s and 5.5. She's in last place at the moment at 35 points. Vita now from Lithuania. Inward 1.5 somersault pike for her. Ooh, very slow. She managed to get a clean entry, but very, very slow in the somersault. She's off timing between the jump and the throw with the arms. She doesn't pick up much speed. You saw how her left foot stepped inside the board, and very, very low when finally getting vertical. 5.5 from the judges, 39.60, ahead of just of Anna Pismenska. Elna from Sweden, and Widerström, the back 1.5 somersault pike for her. Nicely done. Very, very nice line getting in the water. Good jump, perfect movement. No complaints there. Looked perfectly straight with her leg in the pike position. A great job to start the competition, and she's in 6th place at 48.30. Polish diver Kaja now an inward 1.5 somersault pike for the Polish diver. awesome dive, very fast in the air. She does an excellent lineup and gets a very clean entry, 7th from the judges, 50.40 points, and she's in 3rd place right now. Very good job by Kaya to start off this preliminary round. Inward 1.5 somersault also for Claire. And she also does an excellent job off the board. Very strong jump, perfect speed in the somersault, and a clean entry. Yeah, very good by the Irish diver, who gets up in 2nd place right now at 52.80, same score as Jette Müller from Germany. Teresa Jelinkova, also for her, is an inward 1.5 somersault pike. We have just one more inward in this round, will be performed by Ellie Tuxen in last. Oh, big mistake for the youngest diver today, and here is when experience is needed, because this top part was excellent, very strong. She probably just didn't understand how high and fast that dive was going, and ends up being too far over. 37.20 points for her. Chiara Pellacani now, the Italian diver, winner of the gold medal in on the 3-meter springboard here in Czechia, and 3rd place last year for her in Rome on 1 meter. Back 1.5 somersault pike for her. Very good, especially considering this is a backward somersaulting dive, which gets tricky sometimes for some divers. She does an excellent job with that. Probably could have kept her toes pointed better in the somersault and also her knees straighter, but excellent dive, 7th from the judges. It's one of those many divers that are sitting at 48 points right now. And same dive for Emilia Nilsson Garrep. Oh, even better than Chiara. You can see in the slow motion how her pike position is perfect. All the way around her knees with her arms. Here, perfect straight legs and pointed toes, always together. And very clean in the water. As I said, better than Chiara Pellacani for her. 51.75, and she's in 1st. Forward 2.5 somersault pike for Latvian diver Teija. Good job overall, solid performance. Probably the only thing about this dive is that she's ahead of time throwing her arms to get in a pike, so the dive ends up being far away. Not too far away, but enough to drop the score to a 5.5 and 6s. Big smile for her. Anyways, 44.20 in 18th place for the Latvian dive. 18th place for the Latvian diver. Last diver of this first round is Ellie Tuxen, and the last inward 1.5 pike in this round. Yep. Not too bad. She also, you see it here, how much she moved her right foot into the board. That's something that judges notice, especially because they're very close to the 1 meter springboard, and certainly deduct a few points because of that. Divers are not supposed to double bounce on the board and move their feet. 6.5, 46.80. And now you have the rankings, and you can notice how close all the divers are after one dive. 54 points for Anna Henschel, that took advantage of the higher degree of difficulty, 2.6 for her front 2.5 somersault pike. All the others are between Lena in first and Urte and also Jaya from Latvia in 19th place. They're just 10 points. So long way to go before deciding who the top 12 ranked divers who are going to take action this afternoon in the final are going to be. Lauren now from Finland, a backward 1.5 somersault pike. And Lauren decided to complete the 2 standing dives early in the competition in the first 2 rounds, and then deal with the hurdles later. She does a good job here, and again, well executed, sharp. The pike position is perfect, just not extremely fast in the somersault. Little slow. Somersault causes the dive to finish quite low. 6s for her, and Lauren is at 90.55. Michelle Einberg now, forward 2.5 somersault pike. Good job, very strong. The hurdle was perfect. Probably just too distant from the board to have 8. Could have kept it closer. Other than that, the lineup is fine. And very clean short pike position. Yep, 7s and 7.5, 106.40. She gets ahead of Lauren. Urte now from Lithuania. Same dive for her. And this dive, not too good. Didn't seem bad on the hurdle. Unfortunately for her, she just holds on to the pike position for too long and ends up being too far over. Yeah, the scores are 4s from the judges, just 31 points for her. Jette Müller now, same dive also for the German diver. And kind of the same mistake, actually exactly the same mistake as Urte before her. She had a good top, wasn't struggling on the board coming down from the hurdle, just very fast somersault in this case, and when she came out she couldn't stop her legs from going over. So not as bad as the Lithuanian diver before her, but definitely a little mistake here for the German diver. 93.10 points for her. Grace Reed now, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Oh, nice. Very high, perfectly controlled come out from the pike position. And Grace Reed gets rid of the back and reverse right away in the first 2 rounds of dives, so she'll have to deal with the forward somersaulting dives, forward rotations in the last 3 rounds. Very well executed reverse 1.5 somersault pike for Grace. She is in second now, behind Michelle Einberg. Rocio Velasquez, forward 2.5 somersault pike for the Spanish diver. A very clean entry for her. Not too strong off the board. We saw her throwing her arms and getting a pike ahead of the time of the jump. So she did it before finishing the jump. So the dive ends up being a little bit low, but great entry. She saves the dive there and gets up to 94.90. You can see the Polish crowd screaming and cheering for Aleksandra Blazowska, back 1.5 somersault pike. bad. The top part was good. The jump was fine. She gets in a pike position, probably not deep enough with her face. We see it here. Her shoulders move back from the pike position. She should have been in a deeper pike, and also when she came out, instead of moving her shoulders back, she should have moved her legs and hips to get in a perfect straight line. So 5s for Alexandra, 83 total points for her. Madeline Cuckoo now reverse 1.5 somersault and half twist. Luckily for her, she only had to complete half twist, because that hurdle was way over the end. Her feet, you see it here, her toes were completely hanging out of the board. The dive ends up being too far away. 5 and 5.5 for her. Patricia Kuhn now from Budapest, Hungary. Forward 2.5 somersault pike. Not too bad. Nothing, no major mistakes here on this dive, except, well, no major mistakes. But even though she didn't do anything too wrong, she just doesn't show anything great either. The hurdle is quite low. The jump is not strong. The pike position is not too deep. It's all like it's just enough to get on her head. And that's what I was telling you about at the beginning of the competition. Here in this competition, divers need to show, since the dives are very easy and there's not a lot going on, just a 1 or a 2.5 somersault, they need to show perfection. And 5.5 on a front 2.5 somersault is not enough. Same as Lena. It's just this dive was on the board was okay, and then she also kept her pike position for way too long, creating a lot of splashes. She goes too far over. I was expecting more from the German diver, and we also saw disappointment from the coaches. She knows, she smiles, but she knows that this is not what you're supposed to do if you want gold, and she definitely is here for gold today. She would not compete the reverse 2.5 somersault tuck if she wasn't aiming for gold, because that's a very difficult dive for a woman. Forward 2.5 twist for double twister for Ollie Prasanto from England, who also, we've seen others, we've seen Madeline before, completely misses her hurdle. Way too far forward. This dive ends up being very distant from the board. 4.5 from the judges, 84-20. Same mistake as Madeline Cuckoo, and also on the twistering dive, Ollie Prasanto ends up being over the end. Amelie Forster now forward 2.5 somersault. Another dive that ends up being quite far away from the board. You see it here. She stepped back on the hurdle, and in order to get some momentum to get on her head at the end of the dive, she needed to tilt her shoulders and upper body forward, and this causes the dive to be too far away. 4.5, another mediocre dive, unfortunately. 35 points only for her. We've seen 4 mistakes back in a row. And now a better dive, not very high, but as we saw Caroline Kupka from Norway, she was in the corner, and even though she was not perfect on the hurdle, she still got a good dive above average, I'd say. Probably she could have kept it higher. Higher upper body on the squat and circle arm, that would have made the dive higher for sure. We have a little delay from the judges. Yeah, we're still waiting for the scores. And here they are. Yeah, as I told you, The total score of this dive is above average, 46.80. Not too bad for Caroline Kupka. And Elena Bertocchi now, same dive for the Italian diver. A lot of things going on here. The hurdle is over the end, not perfect. You see her toes over the end of the board, and at the end of the dive, she just does not get straight. You see it here. She gets in the water, she's still completely in a pike position. So, not very high scores for Elena. 5.5, 5.5, and 6 are the scores that count. 94.60, still above average, but this dive could have been much, much better. We've seen her do much, much better. Reverse 1.5 somersault pike for Estilla Mosina, way too short. Does not spin fast enough in order to come out at that point of the somersault, and low scores for her, 3.5 and 4, just 26 points for Estilla. Anna Pismenska now, same dive for the Ukrainian diver who was in last place after the first round, and she needs to do better if she wants to dive again this afternoon. And the entry is good, but once again from Anna, no circle arm here. I don't understand why. I never asked her, neither asked her coach, but the dive is good. The entry is perfect, perfectly vertical, very sharp in the air. She just doesn't circle her arms. I don't understand why the judges drop the scores to 6.5 instead of 7.5 and maybe 8, just because instead of circling her arms, she drops them forward. Forward 2.5 somersault pike for Vitas Lajute from Lithuania. Another struggling hurdle. Also for her, the toes are over the end and doesn't get the greatest jump off the board. Other than that, she manages to get a good pike position, and she's very low and short because she didn't jump high enough. So 5.5 for her, 81.20 total after 2 dives. Elna Widerström, reverse 1.5 somersault for the Swedish diver. And another mistake. Right now, we've seen a lot of struggles with the hurdles. This time, it was not over the end with her toes, but definitely off rhythm with the board. She doesn't get off the board nicely, and so probably thought that this dive wasn't high enough or fast enough to get vertical. She pulled too far back with her hands going towards the water and ends up being too far over. 4.5, 31 total points, and below average for Elna. Kaya Skirczyk, forward 2.5 somersault pike for her. Better hurdle, much better dive than what we have seen so far from the other divers before her. Finally, no struggles on the hurdle, probably just ahead of time throwing her hands and arms to get in a pike position, but then after that she lines up correctly, above average, 48.10. She gets up at 98 points. After 2 dives, the divers want to be at least around 90 points, maybe just a couple of points below that. If you're further back, you're way below average. So let's say the Oren Alaselka at the moment in 9th place at 90.55 is more or less the average they need for a spot in the final. Another forward 2.5 somersault pike by Claire Cryan this time around, and another dive above average after Kea before her, slightly far away from the board, and not completely straight, but not bad after all. 6.5, 50.75 for the Irish diver on this dive. Also, Teresa is showing us the same dive. And you can see the difference here, how Teresa just doesn't get a good push from the hurdle. She just doesn't go very high on the hurdle, and then the dive ends up being much lower than Claire before her, so doesn't have enough space coming out of the pike to line up correctly. 4s from the judges, 68 total points for the Czech diver. And Chiara Pelacani now, forward 2.5 somersault pike for her as well. Very well executed. Not bad on the board. Perfect lineup in the entry. Probably just not a great pike position. That's the only thing we can say about that dive. 7s from the judges, and she gets up in 3rd place at 102 points. Emilia Nilsson-Garip also, she is showing us a forward 2.5 somersault pike. Oh, very strong and fast in the somersault. Very nice dive. She is probably going to get ahead of everyone right now with this forward 2.5 somersault pike. I really like her legs when spinning in a pike position. They're perfectly close together and straight with nice feet and toes pointed exactly as I told you. 7, 7, 7.5. Give her the top ranking spot. Top spot in the rankings, yes. So now we have Zeya from Latvia. Back 1.5 somersault pike. And not so good. This dive ends up being far away from the board and also over. That is caused by the upper body movement when circling her arms. So you see it here. Her shoulders are too far back when taking off from the board. Over rotates, and also her legs are not straight getting in the water. 5.5, 6 for Zeya in 16th place, just below average at 83 points. Ellie Tuxen, last dive of the 2nd round, forward 2.5 somersault pike. Another struggling hurdle, completely to the right side of the board. She got down from the hurdle. You saw it. She had to drop her arms way too early. You're supposed to get back on the board completely straight with your body and then squat on the board and circle your arms. She was not in the perfect shape there. So 6.5 for her in 6th place at 97 points, still above average though. We have the rankings now. The leader of the competition so far is Emilia Nilsson-Garip, 107 points. Michelle Emberg in 2nd at 106. Claire Cryan at 103, and right behind there is Chiara Pelacani in 4th at 102. A little bit further back in 5th is Kea and all the others. 12th place after 2 dives is Lena Enschel with a mistake on her 2nd dive, the back 1.5 somersault pike, but still in the top 12. And big names behind are Anna Pismenska in 19th place. Also Madeline Kaku in 18th, that was in the final last year, are the names that are supposed. And I gotta say also British diver Ollie Prasanto in 14th. She had a big mistake and is out of the 12th as of right now. Lauren Aloselka, another struggling hurdle. Another bad hurdle, and you see her toes here. You can see it very clear. Way over the end. She has to skip out of the board very early, too far away. 5.5. So a total of 37.24 finish diver Lauren. Now on the board, Michelle Amberg. Back 1.5 somersault pike. The 2nd standing dive for her. She'll have 2 more hurdles later. Very good top. The jump is extremely high. I personally did not like the way she lined up in the water. See how high she is. Perfect upper body, very still on the takeoff. When she reached back with her hands, she did it before getting all the way straight, and so the entry is not very clean. These could have scored very high because of that takeoff, but still a good overall score, 50 point, 60 point on that dive for her. Urte Valisaite, same dive for the young Lithuanian diver. And once again, Urte is not very fast getting the pike position. Somersault is slow. Wasn't too bad off the board, slightly backward, too far back from the board, but the problem with this dive is definitely the somersault speed. Too slow, ends up being short. Another back 1.5 somersault. This time is Jette Müller from Germany, who is showing us that dive, 2.3 degree of difficulty. And Jette was 4th last year, but as of right now is one of those divers that are out of... Oh no, she was 11th. She was within the top 12 divers, but not where we thought she would be after 2 dives. Mistake for her on the previous round. Still above average, but a little bit further back than the top divers. Excellent back 1.5 somersault pike. 7th from the judges. You see what a clean entry she got there. Perfect hands placement on the water. Give her a great entry. And 141. She's in 2nd now. Grace Reed, the forward 1.5 somersault double twist for the British diver. She never got a medal on 1 meter at Europeans. And excellent job here. So I would say never a medal on 1 meter for Grace Reed, who got medals in other events. And here this week she got a medal in the mixed synchros, silver medal for her here in Czechia. So first of all for her, taking care of making it to the final, and she's in great shape right now. A good solid execution of the first 3 dives at 150 points. She's way above average. So first thing to do is make it to the final, and then tonight she'll have to do her best to get a medal in this tough competition. Another hurdle that ends up being way over the end. Look at, oh, we didn't see it from this slow motion, but her toes were completely over the end. Still manages to go high enough. The problem with this dive by Rocio Velasquez from Spain is on the takeoff, her hands are not perfectly in line with her hands and butt, and hands and arms are not perfectly in line with the body getting in the water, so slightly short and heavy. 5.5, 6 for the Spanish diver at 135. Now, Polish diver Alexandra, same dive for her, and almost the same mistake as Spanish diver, probably a little bit more than Rocio. Reverse 1.5 somersault that ends up being short. You saw it here when she was lining up. Here you see it easily. She's still piked, and her hands don't go perfectly flat on the water, so the entry is not very, very clean. 38.40 for her. Now, Madeleine Coucou, back 1.5 somersault pike. A good dive. It was very nice off the board. Strong jump, but look at the screen and check out the slow motion. Look at the feet when getting in the water. Here, the takeoff is fine. Look at the feet. They completely split. She splits her feet and doesn't point them. And judges, that's the last thing that judges see before she enters the water. So it's the last image that they have in mind about the dive, and that's the reason why they dropped the score to 5.5 and 6, 122.30. Patricia Kuhn, 18th place, excuse me, 15th place for her after 2 dives, a backward 1.5 somersault pike. And very short. Unfortunately, she didn't have a bad takeoff. She was quite high and perfect distance from the board. It's just the way she lined up, not correctly, ended up making the dive fall too far short. You saw it here, not very clean in the water. 4s, 5 and 5 for her. 4.5 and 5 for her. Yes, 33, 35 below average this dive. Lena Henschel now, 12th place for her after 2 dives, and now we have the hardest dive of the, not the hardest, sorry, one of the hardest dives of the day. Reverse 2.5 somersault tuck. Oh, beautiful. Very difficult dive for a lady. This dive is performed usually by men, and not many female divers are capable of going so high and so fast in the tuck position in order to get on their head. So excellent job, especially because this dive has 3.0 degree of difficulty, and with 6.5 from the judges, she scores 58.50 and bounces back up in the rankings. In 2nd place right now, ahead of Grace Reed. Oli Prasanto forward 2.5 somersault pike for the British diver. Better hurdle than the dive before, and a much better job for Holly, the British diver who lives in New Jersey, studies at the Rutgers University. Does a very good job with this dive after struggling on the previous dive on the hurdle. Takes the dive much closer in this round and scores a total of 52 points now in 5th place. And Amelie Forster back 1.5 somersault pike for the Romanian diver. Another dive that is okay, just not spectacular. Nothing great about this dive. Is a good understanding of where she is in the air. Probably could have done a better job stopping her legs from going over here. Underwater, she pulls with her shoulders towards the back to the springboard, and that causes the legs to go over 5s for her. 34.50 on this dive for the Romanian diver. Caroline Kupka, same dive for the Norwegian diver. Caroline was in a 9th place, so above average, doing a good job so far. Also on this dive, should be around the average score needed to be in the top 12 ranked divers. Not too bad. So it's just her feet going slightly over, and exactly as I told you, 43.70. That's what she wanted to remain within the top 12 ranked divers. 138 total for her. And now Elena Bertocchi, same dive for the Italian diver who just not long ago, just a few months ago, had a back injury, and so she's still recovering from that, and she does a good job. Probably she brought her arms backward not far enough to get a clean entry, but overall a very good job by the talented Italian diver. Sevens from the judges, and 48.30 for her. Estilla Mosena now, reverse 1.5 somersault, half twist. An easier twister than what most of the divers are going to show us here. This dive has a total degree of difficulty of 2.2, so not very high. We see most of the divers performing the reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist, or the forward double twister that have 2.6 degree of difficulty, but she does a good job with that. Sixes, total of 38.50. Anna Pismenska now, she still was behind 12th place, below average because of the big mistake on the first round of dives, and inward inward 1.5 somersault pike for her right now. And another dive that is just barely gonna get to average score, I think. Once again, the circle arm is not perfect. Also, she does not jump very high, so the dive is low, vertical but very low on the water when she comes out. She gets straight at the very last second. Sixes, and as I said, barely around average, 44.40. 10th place for Anna Pismenska at the moment. And now Vita from Lithuania, back 1.5 somersault pike. Not too bad, not excellent because she moved too far back from the board. Other than that is a nice pike position and fairly kind of clean entry, not the cleanest ever, but yeah, again, another of those dives that where there's nothing too bad, but also nothing excellent. So 5.5 from the judges, 37.95 with that dive for Vita. Elna Widerstrom, she fell down to 21st place after 2 dives and needs to recover here. Reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist. She'll for sure gain a few spots in the rankings with this dive because he's very strong off the board. The feet are always together, doesn't lose control of the feet in the twist. She's going to go above average for sure, so probably bouncing back up by a couple of spots at least in the rankings after 3 rounds of dives. 127.60 total for her, and she is in 10th place at the moment. Still a few divers to go in this 3rd round of dives. Back 1.5 somersault pike for Kaja Skrzek from Poland. Oh, very nice entry by the Polish diver. Not bad at all. Sevens from the judges. Look how clean she is getting in the water. I gotta say, it wasn't very strong off the board. Didn't jump as high as others we have seen, but perfect timing on the come out and an excellent lineup. So Kaja is in 4th place at the moment at 146. Back 1.5 somersault pike also for Claire. And another good dive by the Irish diver. Oh, I just noticed one thing I didn't notice before. We'll see in the last round. I apologize about that. I should have noticed earlier also, they told me a couple of days ago. Claire Cryan is going to compete the forward 2.5 somersault full twist. And I gotta tell you, not many men do compete that dive on 1 meter. And also the women, not all of the women are capable of doing that dive on 3 meters. So the hardest dive of the day, 3.2 degree of difficulty. I apologize. I knew Damian Bell, her coach, told me while we watch a good back 1.5 somersault by Teresa from Czech Republic. Damian told me a couple of days ago, and I completely forgot. I just saw it now on the diving, the list of dives I have with me. So that will be interesting. That could boost her scores, especially considering the final. That is very high degree of difficulty dive. Reverse 1.5 somersault pike for Chiara Pelacani. Good job overhaul. The lineup is not correct. very high, perfect timing off the board here. When she came out, she got back in a slight pike position. You see it here. She gets in the water and her feet split apart, also not completely straight getting in the water. But overall, a good job by Chiara, 7.5 and 7s, 155.70, and Chiara is in second place, just less than 2 points behind Michelle Emberg. And now we have reverse 2.5 somersault tuck by Emilia Nilsson-Garrep. Oh, another great reverse 2.5 somersault tuck. Both divers competing this dive in this event did an excellent job with this dive. Look how high she is, very tight tuck position, and a great vertical line in the entry. The highest scoring dive of the day here by Emilia. 63 points on this dive. Excellent job. And Emilia gets up at 170 points. She has 13 points advantage on Michelle Emberg. First 1.5 somersault pike for Patricia Zeya, who was in 17th place after 2 dives. And just a little bit too far away from the board. You see it here, there's a lot of distance between her entry and the board. 5.5 and 6 for her. She's in 16th place at the moment. And we have Elle Tuxen now, the last diver of this third round. Also for her, a reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Oh, beautiful. Very strong performance of the springboard. She goes very high. You see it here. High jump. Nice control of the lineup. And a clean entry. Way above average for Elle, who gets up in 6th place at the moment. Not bad at all. We have the rankings in just a second on screen. First in the rankings, as I told you before, is with 170 points, Emilia Nilsson-Garrep, Michelle Emberg in second, and Chiara Pellicani in third. And look what a difference the reverse 2.5 somersault made for the 2 divers who competed it. Lena was in 12th and jumps in 4th place now, while Emilia, who was in still in 1st place before, but with just 1 point advantage on Michelle, she's now in 1st with 13 points advantage on Michelle Emberg in 2nd. And in 12th place, we have Oli Prasanto now at 136, just 1 point ahead of Rocio Velasquez in 13th. And now we have 7 new judges ready for the last 2 rounds of dives. They're being presented on deck. And Lauren is now ready for the reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist. 2.6 degree of difficulty. And her hurdle is once again over the end, just like the previous round. You see her toes are over the end, so the problem with being over the end is that you lose balance, you feel like you're falling off the board, and instead of finishing the jump and waiting for the board to let you go as high as possible, you pick up your feet off the board and the dive stays low and usually ends up too far. In this case, Lauren scores 46.80 and ends up being at 174 points, just around average. Michelle Emberg now, another struggling hurdle. She dropped her hands forward because she was too far over the end, and still manages to get somewhat vertical. But this dive, this is not what she wants to do in the final for sure, because this would take away a probable medal, because she was doing great. She was in 2nd place. She'll drop in the rankings, and she does not want to repeat this mistake later this afternoon. Low scoring dive. it is around average, 42 points, but low for someone who's looking at getting a gold medal here. Urte Velezaite, reverse 1.5 somersault tuck for her. Another dive that doesn't pick up much speed for her, and too short. Yeah, too short in the water. And now on the board is Jette Müller. Well, we saw the dive of Urte, 132 total points with her, way below average, unfortunately for her. And now Jette Müller, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. She did a very good job in the air and in the lineup, but you see it from the slow motion here. She drops her hands and arms way ahead of time in the hurdle. Other than that, the dive was very well executed. 7th from the judges, and way above average for the German diver, who is at 191.80 right now. Grace Reed now, her 4th dive is an inward 1.5 somersault pike. Another excellent dive by the British diver, who was in 7th place before this dive. 7th from the judges for her as well. 50.40, 199.90 total after 4 rounds. Excuse me, 191.80 for her. I apologize, got that wrong. And Spanish diver Rocio Velasquez was in 13th place. And another dive that is just not excellent. She needed a better execution of her, especially of the lineup of this dive. She lets that leg go over, so this is below average. And she needed a better lineup in order to be sure of getting back into the top 12 ranked divers. So 6s for her, 175.95 for Rocio, which means, oh, and we have on the board Alexandra forward 2.5 somersault pike. Oh, very nice entry for the Polish diver. I was saying how Rocio Velasquez right now with 175 is exactly at 44 points. 176 would be a perfect 44 points average, and as of right now she might end up being out of the top 12 ranked divers, so maybe divers might need more than that. 54 points, excellent job on the front forward 2.5 somersault pike for Alexandra Blazowska, who gets ahead of Rocio now. She was 6 spots behind in the rankings, behind Rocio. She gets ahead of her. Another dive by Madeleine Cocu, who was not too bad up until the end, maybe slightly to the right side of the board. We see it here in this slow motion. But look at the feet again. She gets in the water, completely loses control of her feet. Here you can see it clearly. Gets them apart and has a very splashy entry in the water. She is at 161.90 and not on pace for a spot in the final. Patricia Kuhn, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Not too bad, but you see in the slow motion how she picked up her knees. She took off from the board with her knees completely bent. Here, you see it? Boom. Looks like she's supposed to do a tuck dive. Instead of, she gets her knees straight after when somersaulting, and judges drop the score, deduct a few points because of that. So 5.5, total of 38 points on this dive for the Hungarian diver. And we have now Lena Enschel, reverse 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist. Another good dive, but compared to the previous dive, the hurdle in this reverse twister for Lena is not as good. A lot of noise, completely off rhythm. She still managed to get a dive, pretty good dive, 6.5 from the judges, 201.75, and she is in first right now. Next up is Olli Prosanto from Great Britain. Back 1.5 somersault pike. She was in 12th place after 3 rounds of dives. And she wants to get a good dive here for sure. Which she does is, for a back 1.5 somersault pike is around average compared to what we have seen so far, but might be scoring wise not as high as she wanted, and exactly she gets up to 177, which is around what you need to be, around 44 points a dive average, but this could have been lined up better. 6s from the judges. She's just 3 points ahead of Lauren Alaselka, who is at the moment in 8th place. And now reverse 1.5 somersault pike for Amelia Forster. Also, as Lena a couple of dives ago, also Amelie has a off rhythm hurdle, still gets vertical, but not very tight in her core. We also saw her picking up her knees bent off the board. Judges noticed that for sure. Slightly over. A total of 42 points on this dive, 154 for Amelie after 4 dives. Caroline Kupka now, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Wow, how strong. You'll notice how she tipped the springboard in the water. Not many female divers are that strong. That is impressive. And unfortunately for her, she did not manage to get vertical. She over rotates and gets 5.5 from 5s and 5.5 from the judges. Too bad, with that kind of jump, with such a strong jump, she could have done a better job lining up. Also a reverse 1.5 somersault pike for Elena Bertocchi. And she does a great job lining up and getting a clean entry on this dive. Look, a perfect timing coming out. She places her hands very well and it's clean in the entry. 7.5 for the Italian diver. And now she gets in 4th place at the moment. Estilla Mosena forward 2.5 somersault pike for the Hungarian diver born in Italy. Okay, the entry is clean, the lineup is somewhat vertical, the dive is just very low. She's in a hurry to get in a pike position, doesn't let her body get all the way up in the air. She has to squeeze that pike position for a long time in order to get vertical. So now up on the board is Anna Pismenska, while Estilla Mosena got at 145 points. I was saying Anna Pismenska now forward 2.5 somersault pike for her as well. Anna was in 16th place. Another dive. Always the same thing about this diver. Excellent entry, very clean. Just the top part is, see, when she gets in the water, she has her hands in front of her legs, which is not where they're supposed to be. This dive could have scored easily 8 with her normal circle arm. So she gets 7s above average once again for her after a struggling first dive. And now Anna is in 6th place. So gets ahead of Olli Prosanto, who's in 12th place before this round of dives. Vita Zlaiute, not too bad in the air, just the lineup is not very clean because she doesn't get all the way straight getting in the water. So 5.5 and 6s from the judges. and Vita scores 39.60 on this dive. Elna Widerström forward 2.5 somersault pike for this Swedish diver. She was in 15th place and needs 6s, 5.5 and 6s to get ahead of Lauren. Oh, she's not gonna get that. I was saying she needed to pass Lauren Alaselka in 11th place, but she's not gonna get there. This dive over-rotates a lot, and low scoring dive for her, not even 30 points. For this Swedish diver who is now, she's risking big of not making it to the final this afternoon. Reverse 1.5 somersault for Claire Cryan. Claire was in, Kaya Kersik first. Reverse 1.5 somersault pike for her as well. I got ahead of myself there. Claire is diving after Kaya. Nice, another great dive by the Polish diver. And we see Andrzej Szeszytek here cheering for her on the stand. Absolutely perfect timing in the come out. And another nice entry for her. A dive that goes once again above average. So 6.5 and 7 for Kaya. 194.80, and she's in 5th place. Excellent. Excellent competition so far for the Polish diver. Same dive for Claire now. She needs 51 points to get in first place. Ooh, and wow, this is a big mistake. This is not gonna score many points. You look at her feet completely over the end, very low and completely wrong entry on her back. Wow, this dive is gonna score less than 10 points, and now, wow, she will need an amazing last dive if she wants to be in the final. Just 8 points for Claire. Too big of a mistake. 159, way below average. Luckily for her, she has a 3.2 degree of difficulty dive, and with 7 and 7.5 on that, she might still get a chance of bouncing back in the final, but she'll need a nearly perfect forward 2.5 somersault full twist in the last dive. Teresa Cherinkova, 37.20 on this reverse 1.5 somersault pike. That ends up being slightly over, but not too bad. She has plenty of room for improvement, this young lady from Prague. Very, very young and still doing somewhat good dives. Not too bad, just slightly below average. Reverse 1.5 somersault pike with reverse 1.5 somersault 1.5 twist, not pike. For Chiara Pellacani, a regular dive and nothing great. Probably got in the twist slightly ahead of time. The entry over rotates a little bit, so not high scoring, but no problem being above average for the Italian diver. She'll definitely need a better job if she wants a medal this afternoon in the final. Same dive for Emilia Nilsson-Garip, who was leading the competition so far. And very good recovery. Once again, this hurdle is over the end of the board. Seems like she didn't care about that. Got a good timing off the board and excellent entry. And she is again way above average and ahead of everyone after this round of dives. And Emilia 20 points ahead of Chiara, who is in second place. That is a big advantage in this kind of competition. Inward 2.5 somersault tuck. Another very hard dive for Deya, and this is very hard. It's an inward 2.5 somersault tuck, 2.5 somersault, standing not common in the ladies. She's the only one doing it here today, and unfortunately for her, she doesn't get enough room, enough height in this dive in order to get her legs completely straight. So 3.5. In this case, the hard degree of difficulty was not worth it. Was not worth the risk. And forward 1.5 somersault double twist for Elle Tuxen. And not excellent. Not excellent, because in the twist at the end, her hips are turned, and judges do notice that twist in the hips. She doesn't square. She seems okay with that. That doesn't bother her. She's still in top 12. She's in 9th place. So no problem for her, because she's way above average, but not perfect. So top ranked diver is Emilia. Chiara is in 2nd and Lena in 3rd, but 12th place is where we want to take a look at right now before the last round of dives. Alexandra Blazowska with 176 points is in 12th place. Rocio Velasquez 1 point, and also 1 point behind is Caroline Kupka, and 2 points behind is Lauren. These are the 3 divers out of the top 12 ranked divers right now. And I want to add to that group Claire Cryan in 17th place at 159. She is 16 points behind 12th place, but she has a very hard dive, the 3.2 degree of difficulty, forward 2.5 somersault full twist later. So with maybe a couple of mistakes ahead of her and a great dive, she can still make it. Lauren Alaselka, she closes her competition with a forward 2.5 somersault pike for the 15th diver in the rankings. Not too bad. She might have needed 7.5 probably to be sure of making the final and getting some spots. So I want to say that Lauren, with this dive at 223 points, is where the bar is set as of right now, in order to get at least around, somewhat around average to top 12 place. No problem for Michelle Ember on her last dive. Very high and clean. Probably could have gotten a cleaner entry. She doesn't put her hands completely flat on the water, so that causes a little too many splashes coming out of the water. So no problem showing up again this afternoon for Michelle. We have Urte from Lithuania. Back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist for the young Lithuanian diver. Urte has, unfortunately for her, no chance of making the final, already mathematically out of the top 12 ranked divers. And also this dive is below average, doesn't pick up much speed. Once again, she'll need to see how close to the water she is when getting at her hands. Not perfect. Jette Mueller now, she was in 8th place and needs at least 35 points to be sure of getting in the final. Over the end of the board, this hurdle, but definitely more than 35 points. See, her feet are over the end, still gets enough speed to get vertical. Not her best dive, but 49 points for her. And we'll see more of her in the final this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Grace Reed, forward 2.5 somersault pike. Step back. She did step back on the hurdle. She was quite inside. You see it here. Her feet are back from the tip of the board. She still got perfectly vertical and nice and clean in the entry. 54.60, and now Grace bounces ahead of everyone in the rankings. And we also will see her in the final. Rocio Velasquez now. She was 13th. Easier dive for her. 2.2 degree of difficulty for Rocio. Very well executed, and also the entry is very nice. Probably not the strongest top part of the dive, but she was really close, and this dive is below average, but still gotta wait for all the other divers competing with her to get a spot in the final, see how they do. Sixes from the judges, yes, below average, 39 points for Rocio Velasquez, which she seemed happy. And now 12th place diver in the rankings, Alexandra from Poland, forward 1.5 somersault, full twist, and very clean, very clean. Also, this dive is pretty easy, but I gotta say this entry was much cleaner than Rocio Velasquez. And 7th from the judges. She gets up to 46 points and a total of 222.85. Right behind Lauren Alaselka. Ooh. This is going to be close for 12th place. Forward 2.5 somersault pike for Madeleine Cocu, who was in 16th place, but too far behind the others right in front of her. And even though she gets a very good forward 2.5 somersault, 6.5 for her, 50.70. She's at 212 points, and no chances of seeing her this afternoon. Now on the board, Patricia Kuhn, who also has no chances of making the final. She'll finish her competition with an inward 1.5 somersault pike. Very well executed. Probably her best dive, because it's a good top and nice, perfectly vertical on the entry, and it is indeed her best dive today. She finished strong, 201.50. Lena Enschel now, 3rd place after 4 rounds. Inward 1.5 somersault pike. It's gonna be, she needs a below average dive to make the final. Shouldn't have big problems with that, and exactly she'll score way above average. Very sharp off the board. Perfect top part, and also the entry is very clean. Very good performance this morning by Lena Enschel at 253 points. Other the mistake on the second round, Lena had a very, very good performance this morning. She just got 5.5s on the back 1.5 somersault going over, but other than that, an excellent competition. 11th ranked diver Olli Prasanto, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Ooh, wow. These could open doors for the divers behind 12th place. This is way too short. A huge mistake on the come out by Olli Prasanto. 4 and 4.5 by the judges, just 31 points, and she's already out. Well, not already out. She's in 8th place right now, but already behind divers that before I said did not have a chance anymore to make the final, like for example Madeleine Cocu. So yeah, she'll need a miracle. Big, huge mistake by the British diver. I was not expecting that. Usually divers, well, we see Amelie Forster finishing her with a back twister, her competition. Usually divers, I was saying how, and I said it before this week, they have the tendency of, in their strategy, the way they put in order the dives in the list, they have the tendency of finishing with their strongest dive, the ones that they're supposed to, or they think they score the most. It's for most of the divers, that's the strategy. Some others put the riskiest or the one that scares them the most. But other than that, usually most of the divers have their best dive at the end. In this case, I thought Ollie was gonna do a good job on that one. Unfortunately for her, that did not happen. Reverse 1.5 somersault 1.5 twist for Caroline Kubka, who does a very good job with that, and now is in 5th place, while before was in 14th. So she is one of those divers that can take advantage of the huge mistake by Ollie Frasanto, and also of the low degree of difficulty dive by Rocio Velasquez. And she is in 5th place, up ahead of all of those ones I just listed. No problem on making the final by Elena Bertocchi, the 3 times European champion in this event. She gets up at almost 250 points probably. Yeah, with 6.5 and 7, 52 points on this dive. And Elena, you see here, a perfect lineup, vertical. She stops the rotation, it's very clean. Good competition for her. So no problem getting in 4th place, and she's sure of showing up again this afternoon. Now, Estilla Mosena, who is another of those divers who had too many mistakes throughout the competition and way below average. Unfortunately for her, she closes it with another dive that is okay, just not perfect, just too low. The problem with her dives has been that off the board she just doesn't go very high, and on 1 meter you definitely need more room to finish your dive. And you create that space, that room to get perfectly vertical by jumping higher, obviously, and spinning fast. And unfortunately for Estilla, that does not happen here. Now we have on the board Anna Pismenska, forward 1.5 somersault double twist. She was in 10th place, first time within the top 12 ranked divers. Let's see how she does. As always today, except for the first dive that she completely missed, a good dive overall, no circle arm. Another diver that scored 6.5 and 6s instead of 7.5 and 8, just because she drops her arms in front of her. Other than that, it's perfect. It's very good, very well executed, fast, high, everything. Good, clean entry. All it was missing was the circle arm, and the judges dropped the score from 7.5 to 6.5 just because of that. So Anna Pismenska ends up being in 6th place at the moment at 228, ahead of Caroline Kubka, so I'm pretty sure she should be in. Back 1.5 somersault 1.5 twist for Vita Zlayute, a little bit short. Vita is 17 years old and showing us some talent here. I gotta say, she's with the Czech diver Teresa, even though they're not in the final and they're far back in the rankings, I gotta say they're very young, but they have a lot of room for improvement. So even though here today they are not ahead in the rankings, are not showing excellent dives, they can definitely work on that, and in the future we'll see more of them for sure. Inward 1.5 somersault pike for Elna Widerström. And a good dive. A few mistakes for her this morning. Most likely we won't see her. She probably doesn't have a chance of making it to the top 12. Yeah, exactly. She's also behind 7th on this dive. She's also behind Oli Prosanto, and they are already out of they're in 12th, 13th and 14th place already, so no chance for them of making it to the final. They're already out. Kaja Skersek, great competition for her today. Very good job by the Polish diver. She finishes with a back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist. She needs a normal dive. Doesn't even have to deal with the hurdle, so no risks from that point of view. And we will see Kaja this afternoon at 4 in the final for sure. Excellent morning at the pool for the Polish diver. I am very happy for her. This is going to be, if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly, is her first final in this 1 meter event at Europeans. So good for her. Here is the hardest dive of the day, and very important for Claire Cryan that completely missed the previous dive, the reverse 1.5 somersault pike. Long time focusing. As of right now, in 12th place is Rocio Velasquez, and Claire needs 6s to get ahead of her, but she will want many more points. She needs at least 7.5 to be sure of getting a spot in the final. And she does not get that. Another big mistake. This dive is a high risk, high reward type of dive. 3.2 degree of difficulty could give you very high total score on one dive with 6s and 6.5s, but it's also very complicated and tough to do. So 3s from Claire, and we will not see Claire in the afternoon in the final. Teresa Jelinkova now for 1.5 somersault full twist, and did not get a very good hurdle here. She did not jump. You saw her feet completely on the side of the board in the corner. So a low scoring dive for the very young Czech diver. 166 total. Another look at the rankings really quick. We have Rocio in 12th place at the moment, and now Chiara Pelacani inward 1.5 somersault pike. And Chiara right now, she needs, what is it, 6 points to get ahead of Rocio. So, no, excuse me. She needs 9 points, but yeah, she'll get those for sure. She'll get ahead in the rankings. She was second, so no problem for Chiara making it to the final. This is just a normal inward 1.5 somersault for her. Nothing great. Well, it is a great dive, but for her, we can see her doing it much better, much higher. But 7.5 is pretty good. 51 points, and she gets ahead of everyone at 255 points. Now Emilia Nilsson-Garup. She was leading the rankings after the previous round. Inward 1.5 somersault pike for her as well, and she needs 4.5 to get ahead of everyone, and she gets that. So no problem for her leading the competition also on the last round. Emilia was 4th in the first round, and then she led the competition throughout all the remaining dives throughout the competition. She was always leading, yeah. 274, not bad at all. And now, back 1.5 somersault, 1.5 twist for Zeya, who needs 9th to be in the final. Very hard. Not mathematically out, but she needs 9th. It is a very good dive, not 9th though. Probably too far away from the board. And also it's very hard in general to show a dive that gets awards of higher than 8.5 and 9 on 1 meter. Not easy for the judges to find perfect dives like that on the 1 meter event, obviously. So Jaya seems very happy with her. Big smiles for her, very happy with her performance. She closes at 201 point in 17th place right now. Ellie Tuxen now. Ellie needs 5 to make it to the final. And she gets that, more than that. We'll see more of Ellie this afternoon. And we are done with the preliminary round of the 1 meter springboard event in Szczecin at the European Games of Krakow Malopolska. It has been interesting. We have had some very hard dives, some drama. LA closes at 2:35, and in a second we have the final standings on screen for you. Here they are. Emilia Nilsson Garep 274 is in first. Chiara Pelacani in second with 255. Grace Reed in third, 254. Michelle Emberg 253 in fourth. Elena Enschel in fifth place, 253. In sixth place, Elena Bertocchi 247. Kaya Shersek 242. Jette Müller 241. Elle Tuxen 235. 10th place for Anna Pismenska 228. Karolin Kupka 11th place at 225, and 223 points. Lauren Alaselka is the 12th place. So just like last year, that was the average. It was 222 total points to get in the final last year. It's 223 this year. So very similar. Well, here you have on the schedule of the afternoon on screen. Women 1 meter springboard final at 4 o'clock and men's synchronized 3 meter springboard final at 6. I'll be back right here for that this afternoon. I am Michele Benedetti. I will see you later. Bye-bye.
second, Lauren Halaselka. Inward, 1.5 somersaults, pike.
Zobaczymy się ponownie w finale o godzinę 16. Oczywiście dostępni na rozpoczniemy finał skoku na wysokości mężczyzn w trampolinie 3-metrowej. Kochani,